Welcome in to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer. And yes, I am riding here solo on the Rams post-game show here on House of Horns as the Rams pull off a comeback win 27-20 over the Indianapolis Colts. Um, Gilbert Manzano will be joining us. He will be here to eat some crow on Tutu Atwell, who he's been pretty much uh kind of talking down about Tutu Atwell, so he will be on here. But yeah, great win for the Rams. A response after that collapse against the Rams last week against the Eagles, and it was a slow start for the Rams. They continue to have issues in the red zone, but I did like some of the things that came out of this game. I like the aggressiveness from Sean McVay there in the fourth quarter, going for it on fourth down, getting that touchdown for Puka Nakua, holding Jonathan Taylor to, what was it, 77 yards, I believe it was, 76 yards on 17 carries. Great game from Cameron Curl in this game, 9 tackles, 3 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. Not a big push from the defensive line like I expected in this game, but I thought it was a good game script from the Colts in this game offensively, and so they kept the Rams defensive line at bay. I think they only ended up with 2 sacks, so but a big offensive game for Matthew Stafford, 21 of 41, 29 of 41, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then the other thing that I thought we're starting to see is that this backfield is starting to be around 50-50. You had Kyron Williams with 13 carries for 77 yards, and then Blake Corum had added 9 carries in this game. So a good, you're starting to see that this backfield is trying to get, you know, um, a share there, which you kind of want to see. You don't want Kyron Williams to be, carrying most of the load. That way he's ready, towards the second half of the season. And so it's good to see Blake Corum, but honestly, this was the Puka Nakua show, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Um, he has been the offense, and yeah, you have Devontae Adams out there, coming up with 4 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. But Puka Nakua is this offense, and they'll go as far as he takes them. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. But there's a lot here to yeah, and I'm with Andres here. He is the best receiver in the league right now, and he's showing why. I mean, he's catching everything. I was glad to see him finally get a touchdown. I know that with all the targets he's been getting, all the catches, he still didn't have a touchdown. So it was good to see him get his first touchdown of the season receiving. Because remember, he had that big rushing touchdown against the Titans. So and then we'll get Gilbert on here pretty soon. Here we'll get his takeaways. But let me get to a couple more comments here from Delbert. He says, first off, respect to Jonathan Taylor. What a stud. Can we talk about the inefficiencies of the Rams offense? But I'll take our $10 million man Tutu today. Puros cuernos. So yeah, we'll ask Gilbert about Tutu Atwell and that one catch that went for 88 yards and a touchdown. But let's get Gilbert in here real quick, and then let's get his thoughts on this game. He was covering the rest of the NFL, so we'll get him on here and see what he has to say about this Rams win. Hey Gilbert, how you doing,
How's it,
sir?
how's it going, Vic? You
Yeah.
know what? I feel a little confused because I should take a victory lap because I got it right. The Rams won, the Rams covered. To an extent, the Colts are still pretenders. Daniel Jones, 2 interceptions, but Tutu Atwell. I've been talking crap about that guy for like 2, 3 years now, and I'm not gonna say that I was wrong. That Tutu Atwell just maybe shouldn't be on this team, but today he looked like he was, a big weapon. He looked like he was very important to the team, and it's just weird. First catch all year, one catch,
Yeah.
first catch all year, game winner, game on the line. So hey, I think for $10 million, that's worth it, right, Vic?
Yeah, like Delver said, I mean, he'll take that $10 million receiver for this game, and he came up clutch. I mean, 10 million well worth it today, because I mean, there was a point there, Gilbert, where I was worried about this team. I thought they might lose this game, but I thought Sean McVay being aggressive. I think he learned from what happened against the Eagles, and instead of kicking the field goal there and just relying on your defense, he's like, you know what? Let me get the ball into the hands of the best receiver in the league, and I think there's no argument right now, right, Gilbert? Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the NFL, right?
I don't know about that just yet. You're putting me on the spot, Victor, but he's definitely a very important player to the Rams. Probably the most important player, maybe even more important than Stafford. I know he's a quarterback, he's a star quarterback, but he's in the back end of his career. And you could tell when Stafford throws the ball to Puka Nacua, he makes life easier for the entire offense there. So yeah, obviously I still like Justin Jefferson, I like Jamar Chase, I like CeeDee Lamb, but right now, and I've been saying this. Sometimes you just gotta say it right now. And right now,
Right
sure,
now.
it is Puka Nacua. He is producing when healthy too. The numbers don't lie. He's always gonna average like about 100 yards receiving. 10 catches, 20,000 targets per game, and a bunch of touchdowns. But he's just so productive, and not just Puka Nacua. And you're right, Victor. There was a point there where I thought too, like, oh crap, maybe the Colts might steal this one. The Rams look a little flat here. And then everything that we talked about on House of Horns on Wednesday about the Sean McVay game management, it's like he watched it and said, okay, all right, you guys want to criticize my game management.
Yep.
And he picked it up. He really took over that game. Not, obviously his players did, but as a game manager with 5 minutes to go, uh, who would have thought that Tutu Atwell was going to get that pass right there when, again, 0 catches all year? That's just being, a little tricky. That's also adding more playmakers. We've been screaming for more playmakers, right? You can't be
Yep.
predictable. Always Puka Nacua and Devonta Adams, and it was Tutu Atwell. The fourth down play to go and get that touchdown to Puka Nacua, that was aggressive. Like, imagine they sit on the ball there and go for a field goal. That would have been bad there. Drying up a play that looks easy for Puka Nacua, but here's a design screen grab for you, Puka, 3rd and 13 for 12 yards to set up that fourth down to say, all right, let's go here. The defense came alive. Daniel Jones looked frazzled by the pressure. That pressure was unstoppable in the fourth quarter. And one more for you, Victor. Cameron Bynum, the safety from the Colts, said SoFi Stadium has fake crowd
Yep.
noise. They pump in fake crowd noise. Well, to me, I wasn't at the stadium. I can't say. I will be there on Thursday. I will let you know how the crowd is. But if you're at the game, let me know. But on TV, from my seat, it looked like it was really loud at SoFi Stadium. Where, to the point, Mitchell didn't even know the freaking rules. He's holding, he's dropping the ball. Like, it looked like people were confused out there from the Colts. So that's the difference between a pretender and a contender. When the game's on the line, know your assignments. Come and rise to the occasion. The Rams did it. I get it. They're at home. The Colts came to play, but all their strengths came alive in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I was ready to call the Colts an adolescent team, and I felt like with all the mistakes, you see Daniel Jones, throw an interception. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
either on the first or second drive, and then you can, and then they fought back, and then Adonai Mitchell has that, what was it, fumble at the end zone
Yeah.
there, where a 70-yard, it should have been a 70-yard touchdown pass from Daniel Jones, and he fumbles it away because he's over here, celebrating. And it's things like that where you're wanting to, say, hey, the Colts are taking that next step, and then you make mistakes like that, and then you see why the Rams are a Super Bowl contender, because they take care of business. And you're right, the crowd made a big difference in that fourth quarter, and I saw those comments as well from Bynum, and I'm just like, I thought, especially on defense, the crowd made a big difference in making the Colts, turn the ball over. And it's something that the Colts haven't seen in through the first 3 games, because they really haven't been challenged. And this is the thing. I know we've been critical of the Rams in terms of what we've seen with a lot of these, games being close, but this is why, being going through those games helps you here. And I thought they took advantage of it in the fourth quarter, especially, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, that's a big point. When this is a new team that's starting to learn how to win, and they're still in the race for AFC South. I don't think that division is over.
Yep.
Jaguars are there. I even think the Texans are going to come alive eventually. But for them to win that division, they need to win close games like today. They need to come out and execute, and they're not used to that. I get that. Even a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who's experienced in the league, he hasn't really. I don't even think he's ever been in a playoff game. Now that I think about it, that team is young. I know Steichen's been there for a while. He's 3 years in, but they haven't been in a big stage. The last time I think they were in a big game, this was this tight. Obviously, the week 2 game, counts too for the Broncos, but they're starting to feel like a playoff team. And when you get to the real big boy football, you got to execute. And I think the last time they really had that was Week 18 of 2023, when the AFC South was on the line and Houston won that game. I think it was a short fourth down conversion, but the point is they look like they haven't been there, being on the road, being in a tight game. The fourth quarter, also a new quarterback in Daniel Jones. Mitchell being a second-year player, he had a bad hold too. I think Jonathan Taylor would have scored there.
Yep.
It was Byron Young who was trying to chase him and he couldn't. And then you see the bad hold there. So, in a way, you could say the Rams got lucky. The Rams probably should have lost this one, but sometimes about capitalizing your opportunities and making the most of it, because we see teams all the time, blow leads or have teams come back late. And that's the way football is. Most of the time, it's going to be one-score game. So who can execute? Who can manage the game better? And that was Sean McVay today.
Yeah, and we kind of look at the script of how things turn out. You Last week we were critical of McVay's game management, and now you look at what happened this week. He learned from it, and he executed it, and that's what you want to see going forward. And to Jesse Siles is comment here. He says the Colts are a real team. Give them props. Rams show you flashes how good this offense can be as long as they can block down the middle. And to his point, I thought the running game was really good, Gilbert. I mentioned that this is starting to become a backfield where they're going to share the load now. You see Kyron Williams getting 13, was it? Yeah, 13 carries, and then Blake Corum gets 9. But and no Steve Avila, McVay say that he's still working through that ankle injury. They want to make sure he's ready to go. And so even with that, like I thought they ran the ball really well, but you know, I just think that they'll get that running game going. But again, it comes down to the red zone issues, Gilbert. And I think for them to going forward, you want to see them run the ball in the red zone, and then that'll lead to more play action, and you can kind of take advantage of it in the red zone if you continue to do that.
Yeah, and Jesse, I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't. If Jalen Hurts was quarterback of the Colts win that game. It's Daniel Jones they're operating, and they're a good team. They're just not on the Rams level. They're not a legit Super Bowl contender. They could win the AFC South. I don't know how much that says, but I did just write the AFC South is better than we thought because the Jaguars beat the 49ers. The Rams, I mean, so the Colts got my respect. I'm not taking that away from them. They're both the 3-1. The Jaguars and the Colts are. And I really like the Texans defense. But to me, this is a game you had to win. You are better than the Colts. You got to act like it. And you got lucky too. You caught a break there with the Mitchell drop and the Mitchell holding. But we knew that Daniel Jones gets a little flustered when he has pressure on the pocket. And when you build your team on getting a defensive front at the one that you possess, they better come alive in the fourth quarter. And they did. When you built your team on skill players at wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua better come alive, and they did. And when your Sean McVay is getting a ton of praise of being this mastermind, great offensive mind, go out and prove it, and he did. So to me, again, I don't feel any different from the Rams. A big picture thing. I know I keep saying it, and I'm like this negative person here. But you had to beat the Colts. I don't know how much stock you take into that, but when you lost to Philadelphia, 19-point letdown, to me that's what I remember the most. But handling business at home, surviving, coming back, that's just the name of the game in football. So credit to the Rams, credit to the Colts, but you had to win that one.
Yeah, and I think what also makes it this an important win is you have a short week now. You got to take
Yeah.
you got to turn around on a short week and face the 49ers at home. So, we've seen Sean McVay have his team prepared for these short games. I keep going back. I think he's undefeated the last 2 years when he's had both the Sunday and then the Thursday on a short week. I remember there was I think it was the Commanders one year, and then another year they turned around and They had to face the Vikings on a short week, and they won that game. And so he's been able to prepare this team. He's gonna have to do it twice this season, I believe, because they have two Thursday night games, and so this was a huge win for them just to be able to take advantage. And now we'll continue to talk about this matchup, and just to let everybody know, we'll keep everything the same in terms of previewing the matchup against the 49ers. We'll be back on Wednesday just like regularly, just because the next day is the matchup. So I'm sure everybody's going to tune in to check out that preview with the 49ers. I'm sure we'll have a lot of 49er fans in our comments like they usually do. But Gilbert, just
I don't know
just give
about
me
this
your
week,
final.
Vic. I don't know
I'm
about this
sorry.
week. They lost to the Jaguars. I doubt the
Yeah,
49er fans want to be chirping this week.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a hard watch. Just from the when I was watching it on the red zone there. Just give me your final thoughts here in terms of you know for this Rams team going forward. What you learned, and then what would you like to see them improve going forward?
Yeah, I think doing what Sean McVay did in the fourth quarter, adding more people or more, I would say, players to the scheme, getting more people involved like Tutu Atwell, and to his credit, he made the play. He caught it and took it to the house. I don't know how much of Tutu they could feature in the offense moving forward. We've seen this story before. It's not the first time. I feel like every time Tutu catches the ball, which is he has one catch every 10 games, but that one catch is going to be for 45 yards plus, most likely a touchdown. That's what he provides for this team. But hopefully they could get that more consistent, maybe crank it up to 4 or 5 catches per game. Is that possible? $10 million. He already made his money, but might as well go get some extra money off of Tutu Atwell. Uh, Obviously, the whole mystery with Terrence Ferguson, he was inactive today. He's just not ready to play.
Second week in a row.
Yeah, second week in a row. He's not ready to play. I think I'm gonna start forgetting about that one. But Kobe Parkinson, made some plays out there, like you mentioned, Vic. Getting more of a balanced attack with Corum and Kyron. Make this a diverse offense. Make this not just the Puka Nakua show. But I get it. Sometimes you got to get Puka to bail you out. But he left for a little bit. Like it's kind of like, what do you do now when Puka Nakua is not around? So to me, build off of this. And I'm going back to the Eagles game. I'm sorry, but the Eagles win because they have a diverse offense. They have multiple playmakers. They have different styles to win. I get AJ Brown is pissed off about it, but when you're just a basic offense, more times than not, they're going to figure you out. And I'm not saying the Rams are basic, but when you just have one guy, Puka Nakua, teams could figure that out. 49ers are very talented. They have good coaching. I get they lost to the Jaguars, but you better bring your best stuff to beat a divisional rival. So to me, build off of this, Sean McVay. Take the Modelos if you want for coach of the week, because that was a great fourth quarter by you. But build off it. We just don't see enough consistency when it comes to games like this, Victor.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And then I'll just say this. I mean, Puka Nakua, he just became the third player in NFL history with at least 8 catches in each of the team's first 4 games, joining Eric Moulds in 2002 and TJ Houshmandzadeh in 2007. I mean, he just continues to ball out. He was a fifth round pick out of, Washington. No, he was out of BYU. He was at Washington first and then transferred. And he just continues to be a model of consistency, Gilbert. And, I understand, as you said, you want to have this be more balanced, but it's kind of hard when he just continues to catch everything. But I'm with you. This offense needs to be more balanced going forward for them to be successful, especially against the good teams. And today was a big test, I thought. I know that the Colts are 3-0, and some people have looked at that record, of the teams they face, but you look at it and they gave them a good test here. And especially coming off of that collapse, I wanted to see how this team responded. And I felt like they responded well, especially in that fourth quarter when when things were against them. They're like they just didn't quit. They went and they stole this game, Gilbert, because it felt like the Colts came in here and they were here to earn respect. And at one point I was like, okay, I see it, especially in that third quarter, because the, in that third quarter they didn't score any points. It felt like they hadn't made that adjustment. And then in the fourth quarter, McVay finally took over. He put his stamp on this game by going for it. And so, like you said, I feel like he gets the 12-pack of beer, like you gave it to him because of that. One more comment here before we go, Gilbert, from Delbert Salgado says 3 wins, 1 loss in the first quarter of the schedule. As we go forward, we still get better offense. Niner will be tough for sure. And yep, that brings us to the first quarter of the season, Gilbert.
Yeah.
They're 3-1 for the first time since that Super Bowl season in 2021. And so, as we said, they got to take advantage of this schedule early on. The Colts ended up being a tougher opponent than we thought before the season, but you have to take care of business because the rest of the division is going to continue to win. The Seahawks are 3-1, the 49ers are 3-1. So I think the Cardinals are 2-2. So everybody in the division is within a game of each other or tied. So you need to continue to win. You need to stack these wins, and you need to win the division, Gilbert, because you want to host. You don't want to go to Philly once again on the road and have to travel to face them. So that's my final thought there, Gilbert.
Yeah, and just to add for my final thoughts here before I get to focus on this Michael Parsons return here in Dallas, but like you mentioned, it's the end of the first quarter of the season, and I just don't know how impressed I am by the Rams beating 3 AFC South teams. What does that really say at the end of the day? You're one team that wasn't AFC South, you lost to the Eagles, so start the second quarter of the season by beating the 49ers at home. I want to see that. And to kind of summarize, and I get that I'm being a little negative here, but this is the reality of football. And there's always going to be surprise teams. There's always going to be kind of the mediocre teams. There's going to be some really bad teams like Tennessee Titans. It's going to be surprise victories like the Giants did today against the Chargers. But when the balance is restored and the chaos is done, you're going to look up and it's like Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles, the last two remaining undefeated teams. We know those teams are good. I know the Bills have to win the Super Bowl, but we know they're going to be in the mix because they're always in the mix. And that's what the Rams need to get to. The Rams need to get to that team that's always in the mix. But right now they feel like they're a level behind and they need to go and elevate that for the second quarter. But hey, you don't make your own schedule. You got to do is play the teams in front of you, go handle, and they did. They're 3-1. But one more point. There were 6 teams that are undefeated, and we're all thinking, can the Chargers be as good? Can the Buccaneers be as good? Can the Colts be as good? Can the 49ers be as good? Well, they all lost today. So it's just the Eagles and the Bills because we know who they are. We know who they belong. Can the Rams get there? I think they can, but they still have plenty to prove.
I thought you were going to go Dennis Green there. We we know who they
Yeah,
are, and we let them off the hook there. But Gilbert, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think it just comes down to winning games at the end of the day. As I said, I don't care how you win, but when it comes down to games like this, just take care of business and move on, especially when you're on a short week.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. It's when you get into those elite games that you need to take advantage of. You got games like the Ravens where, now the Ravens are 1-3, and so we don't know how that game's gonna look like down the road. So, you just got to take advantage of the wins and go from there and let things play out as they do. And then let me get to these comments as we finish off here, Gilbert, from Daniel Calderon. Man, we struggle a lot offensively. So, even the fans here are telling us what they're seeing, and the struggles are still there with this offense. And then one more says something feels off offensively. It doesn't look good. And then one more here from Michael Armenta, 2-2-2-2-2-2. So yes, and then he says bring on the whiners as well. But yes, I mean we'll get into the offensive struggles on Wednesday when we do the preview with the 49ers. But yes, it is something that they need to fix going forward. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, and you just move on. And just like you just said, you just continue to stack these wins because you that's the schedule that's been laid in front of you. It was 3 AFC South teams that you beat. Now take care of business against the 49ers, and it's going to be a short week, and you want to come out and have a good showing.
Yeah, no, definitely go out and prove that you're the best team in the division, and I think they are right now. The Rams are. So they're 3-1. The record shows it, but go beat the 49ers. They still haven't played. That's going to be their first division game. Now I think about it. So go
Yep.
set the tone. Go do that. You caught a break here with Mitchell and Daniel Jones and the crew there, but good victory. But I'm ready to get going, Victor. So I'm gonna do the outro here. So
Yep.
on that
Let's go.
note, it's time to get going. Nos vamos, pues. Vámonos.